30 minutes or a short time, by 9:03 rather, a second plane. Both United Airlines planes, but American Airlines is now saying maybe one was not their plane. Afterwards, 2 additional planes, both United carriers, crashed.
We had the Pentagon, a plane in the Pentagon. The reports did say that they saw the tail of a large jumbo jet sticking out of one section of the Pentagon. Now, again, when you have reports coming in like they are, sometimes they're unconfirmed. So all we can do is tell you that they are reports and not necessarily the actual fact as we know it at the moment. As soon as we get the information, of course, we will bring you up to date on the new information that we have.
And of course, the United Airlines flight was bound from Newark to San Francisco, and another United Airlines flight that was 175 bound from Boston to LA. Also, Greyhound bus service has stopped through much of the nation. On Route 3 in our area near Giant Stadium, it is now closed. Long Island Railroad has limited service out of Penn Station and Jamaica Station, no New York bound service. And subways, no service into Manhattan, limited AFE and 7 out of Manhattan.
All right, we have Joe Cullum, who is basically right near the World Trade Center, what was the World Trade Center. Our reporter for UPN 9, Joe Cullum, and the I-Team. Joe, what's the situation as you see it there now?
Well, Ron, I've been out of communication with what you've been seeing, but I'm kind of at ground zero. I'm about a half a block from where the tower used to be. And as you can imagine, it's just utter devastation. There's burnout vehicles everywhere. The towers have collapsed across. One of the towers has collapsed across West Street, which is the south end of the West Side Highway, and fallen across into the Battery Park City area. The 2 towers, obviously, you've probably seen the video. I can only see it from ground level here. And they're not there anymore. I was standing at the corner of Barclay Street and Washington Street, which is about 1 block, and it's in the canyons around the World Trade Center, and it looked like a bomb went off, and a fireball must have shot right up the street because everything on the street was completely devastated. Vehicles were burnt out. Windows were blown out. There's just debris from superstructures of buildings everywhere. Firefighters are right now pumping water onto the remains of one of the towers. I was just speaking with a New York firefighter who told me that there are right now firefighters trapped inside the building. They're afraid the building is going to collapse. They at one point pulled everybody away, but apparently there were firefighters inside looking for survivors. And right now they're trapped inside. They can't go in to get them until they put the fire out. And right now, as I'm looking, there's black smoke billowing out of the building and hoses spraying onto the building. And I see a firefighter climbing up a ladder right now. There used to be a footbridge across West Street going from the towers to the Battery Park City area, which is basically high-rise office buildings and living, condominiums and co-ops. That footbridge has collapsed. There are a number of fire trucks that have been crushed beneath that. What appears to have happened was that the first units that responded to this were surrounding the Trade Center, which is, if you're familiar with it, it's a several square block area bordered on the west side by West Avenue, Vesey Street on the north side, West Broadway on the other side, West Broadway, that whole financial area down in South Manhattan, the lower Manhattan area, and apparently a lot of units, firefighter units, EMS units, NYPD units responded, and that's when the collapses occurred, and there's a great deal of concern among the people I've spoken with here that a lot of those units may have either been trapped or suffered heavy casualties. There is, I can't describe the scene here well enough with my own words. There's just millions and probably billions of pieces of paper strewn everywhere. The streets are thick with dust. It almost looks like something you might see if a volcano had blown. It's just dust everywhere from apparently concrete, or I'm not sure what. Vehicles that haven't been burned up are covered in this dust and soot, and it's blowing everywhere. It's hard to. We managed, as we walked down here, managed to buy a couple of surgical masks to cover so we wouldn't have to breathe this air. But it's hard to, when the wind blows, it's hard to even see because it's so thick in the air, and it's not easy to breathe either. I spoke with one firefighter who had been home this morning watching on television, as a lot of people probably were watching, and he was actually out on medical leave and saw it and got a call to come in and responded, and got here after the towers had collapsed, but was in the process of crawling in under that footbridge I was mentioning to pull out a fallen comrade. And his comrade was a firefighter, was trapped about 500 feet in under some debris down West Street, and he turned around and said he saw a police officer walking with him carrying a 9mm pistol, and he asked him what he was doing, and he said that there were people in the area that were planting bombs after the planes had flown into the tower, that the bombs apparently, and this is just going on what one firefighter told me, police believe that there were bombers that were in the area after the planes hit the towers, planting bombs, and that may have been what caused the further devastation. Are you still with me?
Yes, we're listening to you, Joe. It's just unbelievable what you're telling us.
I'm looking right now at what looks to be, and bear with me because I'm trying to get my bearings down here myself. I've been here so many times, and in fact, it just brings back so many memories from 8 years ago when the World Trade Center blew on that cold winter day. Standing out here that day and thinking how devastating that was. Well, that was just looked like now like it might have only been a trial run for somebody, because this just goes so far beyond that, it's unbelievable. But I'm looking at the remains of one of the towers, and I can see flames in the upper floors, and there's still several hoses going down. There's firefighters are coming. It looks like they've been in there, and they're pulling back down while others walk in there. A minute ago, a whole brigade of firefighters walked down toward the buildings, and I know what they're trying to get the fires up so they can rescue their fellow firefighters. And right now, it appears to be more of a New York Fire Department effort. Police department is here. They're keeping people as far away as possible. However, right now, it looks like it's the firefighters who are doing most of the work while the policemen just try to maintain the situation and control the situation.
Joe, can you still see people being brought out, the injured?
You know what, Ron? It's interesting. Now, some of the firefighters told me that when they arrived, there were many bodies and body parts around, and that there were, when the buildings, you probably may have even witnessed this on live television, people apparently started jumping out of the upper floors, and firefighter told me that as he approached the building, he heard over his radio to watch out for jumpers, if there are people coming down. Apparently, a lot of people, when they felt the building start to collapse, apparently jumped. And as a result, there were apparently a lot of bodies and body parts strewn in the immediate vicinity of the towers. However, where I am, and I've been up within a half a block of the building, I didn't see any bodies. Let me backtrack a little bit to tell you that everyone probably knows our studios are in New Jersey, and when we saw the first video of what we didn't know at the time, but it was obviously a plane crashing into the tower, we hopped in our vehicles and took off and for the lower Manhattan area. But the tunnels had closed by the time we reached them, and we went to Weehawken and hopped on a ferry and came over, and we got about halfway across the Hudson River, and they announced that they were turning around and coming back, but they'd been told not to come into the city, at which point we came back and tried to, and so finally successfully found a boat owner to haul our 5 UPN 9 crews here, or reporters and photographers here, as well as a number of other members of the press who were trying to get into the city. And when we were dropped off at 34th Street at the pier there, and had to walk what seemed like 3 or 4 miles down to the site. And as we came down, just hundreds of ambulances and the EMS units just were screaming with their sirens blasting, going north on the West Side Highway. I don't know if I presume that there were injured and possibly fatalities in those units, but there were also reports of major gas leaks in the area, and they were trying to evacuate people as well. So I personally have not seen one person yet who I could describe as injured or a fatality. However, there was a mass exodus as we walked south down the west side of Manhattan. There were just tens of thousands of people walking the other direction, many of them in tears and near hysteria. It was an incredible sight that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Joe, thank you. Let's give you a break here for a moment or two. This is the first time in U.S. history that all domestic air travel has been stopped because of an event, a terrorist attack like this. All Capitol buildings, the U.S. Supreme Court, all evacuated. Joe was mentioning trying to get over, Brenda, to the city by ferry. They're now using those ferries to bring some of the injured over to hospitals in New Jersey.
This is an apparent terrorist attack. The president spoke earlier. The nation is on high alert. Necessary security is in place. The government continues to operate. And President Bush issued a resolve that our nation is being tested and we will pass this test. We mentioned earlier, too, the planes that were down. 2 believed to be American Airlines. American is now questioning whether one of them was indeed theirs. The other 2 United Airlines jets that also went down, starting this morning at 8:45, hours ago.
We're looking at a live picture from Jersey City area toward Lower Manhattan, and you're looking where the World Trade Centers used to be. Now, on top of those World Trade Centers, when they were there, were the broadcast towers for most of the broadcast entities in the New York area. So most of you in America who will be watching us now are watching on various cable systems. Comcast cable, certainly, Dish Network, DirecTV. So we are UPN 9 News in New York, and much of the coverage that you are seeing is we bring to you via satellite and then to your television sets around the nation. It's a difficult time. All of our colleagues from all of the various broadcast entities had their towers on top of the World Trade Center, except one.
And this is actually an unprecedented agreement that all major U.S. news networks have agreed in pooling all available pictures of this attack on America.
That's extraordinary, and it just shows the immensity of this kind of tragedy.
And how America comes together.
Indeed. I think we will see that from now on for the next several days as we try to cope with not only anger that we talked about before, but also cope with understanding the hatred that is involved for a number of people who could put this kind of thing together to take so many innocent lives. It's extraordinary. And we keep showing you these pictures over and over and over. Not for any morbid sense, but to, again, try to understand what it is that we're seeing as we try to cover the live aspect of what's going on now with the rescue of those injured, both firefighters, rescue workers, and workers in that area.
These pictures were taken just before 9 o'clock this morning. 2 buildings were still standing. By 9:03, a second plane had crashed into one of those buildings. Before noon, they were gone.
They were gone. It's unbelievable. I mean, for those of us who have been in this news business for a long time and have covered all sorts of events, never can I remember anything like this. In the totality of the devastation, in the totality of the humanity that probably perished in all of this, you could be talking upwards of 30, 40, 50,000 people.
Exactly. We're not talking about only the 50,000 who go into the World Trade Center every day. And again, fortunately, we were talking with someone over the phone who had made it out, and he got a chance to see lots of other people making it out of one of those buildings. But for the people on the street, no one could fathom this sort of thing happening here in America. Thomas Phelan is sitting beside us now. When you look at these pictures now, we're looking at live pictures of the gaping hole where the World Trade Center once stood, where people's lives once were, just a few hours ago.